Right.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. I remember our first meeting very well. It was just like any new secret relationship. You gave me a lot of attention.
Vier ergen. Pauze en opnieuw.
Nee, weet je wat dat was? Ik had letterlijk dat woord relationship. Ik heb daar echt problemen mee. Ik zei letterlijk relationship. Ik strakelde over die R en ik was zo relationship.
Ja, maakt niet. We hebben dit. Want voor de rest is het fucking goed. Fucking...
Ja.
Ik is een slechtje, maar oké. Ik moest dat niet schrijven, daar eigenlijk is mijn fout. Oké, bon.
Waiting. 3, 2, 1, let's go. I remember our first meeting very well. It was just like any new secret relationship. You gave me a lot of attention. You became an obsession. You gave me a special feeling, a feeling that was like pure happiness, a feeling of heavenly warmth inside me. I couldn't get enough of you because you were always there when I felt gloomy. Did I need comfort or a shoulder to cry on, or was I looking for comfort? You were always there for me. You helped me through tough. Nee.
Oké, by the way, even gewoon zo'n realization. Zouden we na die passage zo gewoon zo onszelf introduceren, gewoon zoals die doet daar?
Ja, ik zou dat wel doen.
Maar die transition is gewoon zo smooth nu.
Maar gewoon self-introduction dan en dan transition maken.
En zo, oh, by the way, for the guys who don't know me.
For the guys who don't know me, I did the voice power. I wrote that rap piece.
I mean, you can make them.
Okay. Once more. 3, 2, 1, let's go. I remember our first meeting very well. It was just like any new secret relationship. You gave me a lot of attention. You became an obsession. You gave me a special feeling, a feeling that was like pure happiness, a feeling of heavenly warmth inside me. I couldn't get enough of you because you were always there when I felt gloomy. Did I need a shoulder to cry on, or was I looking for comfort? You were always there for me. You helped me through hard times, through great defeats and losses. You helped me fight my boredom and loneliness. You were my savior. You were like a drug to me. I needed you to make me feel better, to forget all the worldly problems and escape to a new world, a world of you and me. But then things changed. Even though you were always hitting it off to make me feel good physically, you had something that made me feel terrible about myself. A destructive and derogatory feeling. A feeling that made me need comfort. You presented yourself over and over again. The self-hatred grew bigger and bigger. I could no longer look at myself in the mirror because I no longer existed. You had turned me into a monster. Then I realized that you were lying to me. I realized that you didn't even have the respect to remain faithful to me. You were in a relationship with the majority of my friends and girlfriends. It was stupid of me to let you into my life, and it was even more stupid to believe your lies over and over again. But you seemed so innocent. I couldn't stay mad at you. Many moments a day I thought of you. I thought of how I missed your love. Since it was done between us, I had to sail through stormy seas. I have managed to get my family and friends back. But most of all, I have found myself again. I am again able to look at myself without seeing the monster. It was hard, yes it was, because believing in the best possible version of myself seemed like a leap of faith. But it is the best leap I have ever made. The leap was big and required a lot of courage, because as I didn't make it, I was trapped in the dark depths forever. The jump taught me that every loss is an opportunity to learn, but more importantly, to become better than I ever was. A chance to get one puzzle piece closer to the ideal me. You gave me a purpose in life. You gave me a purpose of making people aware of your mischief and deceit. I am not going to spite your feelings by saying, it's not you, it's me. Because dearest porn, I am a better person without you. This is an excerpt from a draft book written by me, Aydan. I am the host of this podcast, The Pursuit of Ubermensch. I have a profound interest in philosophy and psychology, and I'm joined by the co-host of this podcast, Felix. Hi, Felix.
Hi, what's up? Nice passage, by the way. I'm Felix. I'm mostly interested in technology right now, blockchain and all that good stuff. So we'll see how this dynamic goes. Pretty interesting. But the comparison between the porn and destructive relationship isn't even far stretched. Better on, it's spot on. Like all the oxytocins, all the adrenaline, all the dopamine you get from a relationship is the same thing you get from watching it and doing it. You literally get an intimacy bond. You get attached to the pixels. You literally love with the pixels. That's why it's addictive and you can't stop or aka break up with it. And this then creates incels and all other nasty stuff. It's overall just a really bad habit.
Yeah, it is. Porn is like this terribly bad habit you stumble upon between the ages of 8 and 10, generally speaking, but there are people who stumble upon it at ages of 5 or 6. And we all know that it's quite hard to make good habits and it's quite easy to make bad ones, like overeating or skipping the gym, or in this case, watching porn. And what a bad habit actually does is it offers an escape from reality. So it gives you this escape into a world that is all pleasure and no responsibility. It's somewhat like Pleasure Island in Pinocchio. You can do whatever you want and you don't have to care about the consequences. But the thing is, with porn, there are consequences and there is a hidden cost, and that cost is the rest of your life. I believe that you will grant me that, Felix.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone thinks now that internet porn is so widely available that it's just free and it doesn't cost shit. Well, actually, it costs a shitload of your free time to start with. And second of all, it just rewires your entire brain. Like your dopamine circuits totally rewired. It's a shithole to fix.
Let me go on the spot. Then again, okay, most people, I don't spend that much time, bro. When you're bored and you have nothing to do, what do? You grab it and you start watching it.
Yeah,
bro, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it also does really change your worldview. Like, if you watch enough porn, women will become objects of sexual pleasure. They just will.
Nothing else. You can't get a bond of a personal bond with them at all, which is important in a healthy relationship as well.
That isn't what porn teaches young guys. Porn gives us this idea of oh, you can get a girl and you can fuck her and then you can kick her out and never see her again. Porn promotes this idea of anonymity and just, oh, I'll just screw and within a day she won't know I even existed. And that is a real problem because it overrules the entire idea of, well, intimacy. And that's why a lot of people struggle with porn because, well, they're ethically conflicted because, well, you should think about finding intimacy, but on the other hand, you like porn too. Yeah, it's just a really bad thing. And at some point, I believe that we are all forced to reflect upon what we do. And when we reflect on porn, we feel a lot of shame and a shitload of self-hatred. Just think about post-nut thoughts.
I mean, all that is masked nowadays with series like Big Mouth and Sex Education, and it they try to create it, normalize it. Let's say they try to make you feel good that it's okay, even if you have a feeling that your dead grandmother is watching you or something like that. I don't know. Some guys do. It's weird, I know, but it's okay. You just carry on. No,
you shouldn't. I'm not a fan of saying everyone should stop watching porn entirely, but I'm a fan of, well, we shouldn't promote it. We should teach everyone about its dangers and tell them how bad it is, and not say you can't do it, because everyone knows if you tell someone they can't do it, especially teens and young kids, they will do it.
Like the best comparison that I've heard is like comparing it to cigarettes. In the beginning, no one knew the effects of it. It was promoted. When you turn like 9 years old, you can get your first puff, whatever. Same thing right here. No one knows the dangerous side effects. Everyone's promoting it. When you're 9 years old, you get your first. It's crazy. But then I think when more studies and more like when the NoFap community might grow or whatever, a big pushback will come, and like promoting it will stop, and hopefully even mandatory to put on the sites like these are the health blah blah blah, all that shit, like like they have on the cigarette packaging right now.
Yeah, like it's extremely heavily promoted. Like I read an article and said that like about 10% or maybe even 25% of all the materials on the internet are pornographic materials. I researched it, and it took me only 2 words and 2 mouse clicks to come upon a porn site. And it wasn't like my search wasn't like Pornhub or at XXXNX or something. It was just nude woman, something every like 10-year-old boy at some point will tap into the search engine, and before they know, they are there. And it's a really bad thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's really destructive. And the problem is things like OnlyFans and social media, they only promote it. Like I know guys who wanked to internet to like really just Instagram models. And I'm like, dude.
Bro, that's like 90% of all the teens, literally. And it doesn't stay there. It's so horrible that they start doing it to people they even know, not well, because that's, that just feels weird. And that shows, that indicates that it's not a normal thing to do, but people still ignore it somehow. They do it like people that they moderately know. And it's so weird and so messed up. If you just take one moment, even if it's 5 seconds, and think about it, you'll realize it. It's not normal.
Yeah, I think you will support me on this. We've both had some point in which we were doing like mid-fab, and we were like, this is so absolutely wrong. And I believe that every boy and maybe even every girl who's watching or listening to this will support this idea, because at some point, something inside you has to say, dude, you're watching a brother fuck his sister. That's not okay. And at some point, you will start to question it. And at some point, your brain will say, nah, we like the dopamine. Go ahead.
And those are not even like the worst videos. Those are like the mediocre one, the soft ones. It's great. Incest is soft. What? It's crazy.
I see this evolution quite a lot in the research data as well. It's like what used to be softcore pornography was like Playboy magazines or wow, a picture of a nude woman. Softcore porn nowadays is a guy railing a girl so hard her brains almost come out.
So it wasn't even new though. They just had something covering the internet places, which is Instagram. Instagram is fucking porn.
Yeah, like TikTok too. It's like, in my opinion,
worst thing about TikTok. Sorry. The worst thing about TikTok, they're fucking underage.
Yeah,
and people.
Yeah, it's really bad. Twitter is on that list too.
Okay, you
just
can
like
find
Tumblr.
You can find other stuff on Twitter as well, like beheadings and all that.
Yeah.
So
Twitter is just Well, porn is really bad. I think we can all agree on that. But most people don't realize the impact that it can have on your self-image. So most people think, I'm watching porn, I'm wanking to it, whatever. And they just think it stops there. But it's like, no. In the social dramaturgy, according to Engulfment, there's this theory that our social interactions can be compared to an actor playing a role. It's actually quite logical. If you go out with friends, you behave differently than you do with parents. And well, there are different types of how we go about these roles. And there's one type that is really destructive. It's role engulfment. And it's this concept wherein you become the role you play. So if you are, well, regularly exposed to male porn stars, you make this role you, so you become the role. And well, that's not too good for you either, because you won't land any girls with such behavior. And on the second hand, there's this idea of self-image.
There's this funny episode on Friends. Like, okay, they promote porn immensely, and it's an ultra promoting all the bad stuff series almost in a way that you don't notice it. But there's this episode where like the two guys there, like Joey and Chandler, they found this free porn channel on the TV. At that time, remind you, it's 90s. You had to pay for everything. So there was still that little paywall there, but fine. Okay, they found a free channel. Whoa, blew their minds. They had it on for 24/7. And what happened? They started realizing in every social interaction that they had with the opposite sex, they were expecting the Gluck Gluck 9000 in return or something. They were expecting something in return because they were watching too much of it. Okay, fine. It's a funny sketch, blah, 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 but it literally has merit in it.
Yeah, it does. It's like you really take up the role. Like the majority of men I know get all of their sexual inspiration from porn. Imagine getting your sexual inspiration from watching a guy rail a girl's brains out without compassion, without any signs of intimacy.
That's not the worst part. You're watching a guy rail the girl you want, and you're enjoying it. That's the definition of a cuck, my friend. Everyone who watches it is a cuck.
Yeah, they are. And if you're a man, at some point you have looked at your pee-pee and thought, damn, it is small. But how the fuck do you know it is small? You don't go around the bathroom looking at every guy's dick at school. No. Why do you think it's small? Well, you see it at porn. These guys have massive 8-inch dicks and whatever not. But like these dicks, they are not healthy. They are pumped up with Viagra, whatnot.
They admit it. It's not even a secret. They literally would pause the recording. They would pop them some pills or do whatever helps them to make it, performing again in performing mode. And then they go back at it.
Yeah, like there's this Dutch study, I believe it was done by Valkenburg, and it found there is a 27 correlation between the exposure to sexual explicit internet media and the degree in which one is anxious about the size of his penis. A 0.27 correlation. For the ones who don't know statistics, this means that for your exposure to sexually explicit internet media, or I will call it SEAM, the more you are exposed to it, the greater the chance you are anxious about the size of your penis. If a Dutch study can find it, and they even found a correlation of 0.25 between SEAM and the general dissatisfaction with the body.
That's crazy. And people are still promoting it, and they have all these like fancy arguments for it, like blah blah blah. We'll get into all of those arguments, don't you worry. But it's crazy how people can still promote it, even though the research is there now. So stop it, read the research, and you'll realize it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny if a research paper, and it's not just one research paper. It's like there are a shitload of studies that support the idea that sexual explicit internet media have a negative impact on your self-image.
Indeed. And I mean, the reason why they don't stop, it's a money grabbing business. I don't know the exact stats anymore, but I remember it was along the lines of billions of money, literally. Was it a
Yeah,
year or whatever?
yeah,
I don't care.
they make like oh, I read an article about it. It's like for every $1 Instagram earns, a porn site earns 170% more.
Insane. I mean,
That's
that's more profitable than any cigarette business, any drug business,
yeah.
any drug business. It's crazy.
And I have to give it to them. It was extremely smart
Oh, hell
because
yeah.
you just play into young boys' needs of sexual dissatisfaction or whatever. And you just tell them, oh, you can't get a girlfriend, or you feel lonely, or you feel anxious. Well, here have some porn, you'll feel better.
And okay, so I'll get into these arguments right now for the pro.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that. Yeah. So like the first argument, like the first thing I agree with the we can bash on them, whatever, but the person who wrote that article mentioned that some shouldn't view porn, like those with a poor body image or those who have been sexually victimized. It'll create unrealistic expectations, blah blah blah.
Well, there is some truth in that, I believe. Well, some shouldn't view porn, but I believe, and I assume you will follow me in that. Well, actually, no one should.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying we should tell everyone they can't, but it's just like I'd strongly advise against watching porn.
But it's like, okay, sure, you can watch it once a month or so, but or once every year or whatever. Don't care. But the thing is, you get addicted to it.
Yeah, and the thing is also everyone who watches it just doesn't think about it. Like if we were to watch it, we are like, okay, we're seeing this, and this is not a clear mirroring of reality, and this is this, and yada yada yada. We are aware of that it not being an mirroring of reality, but most people, they just sit, enjoy, and take it all in.
Mm-hmm. And imagine with the metaverse and all that shit coming up.
Yeah,
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, and like the craziest thing is there are these things, these sexual advisors who say pornography can reboot a couple's sex life. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? No.
I mean, sure, it can reboot it, but I mean, there's another side to the coin. All magic comes with a cost, like famously said. Like, okay, the softcore porn that we used to watch in the 80s, that could have helped it because that was only, ooh, do you see anything? Ooh, maybe if you flip the page, they might.
Yeah, indeed, maybe. Well, if she would put on some lingerie or whatever, it could help. But like, what are you going to do to your wife? Are you going to rape her? Are you going to bang her ass?
There are literally videos like legal, and it almost like it literally shows not, it's not real raping, but it literally.
No, it's consent, no consent. Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? The famous lines,
Yeah, it's so fucking weird. It's this new idea that's immensely popular in porn. It's consent, no consent, CNC. And it just means I give you consent to rape me. If I must say this to everyone, and I'm looking straight into the camera. If this is where society is going, we are going wrong. We should turn back. We should make a 180 turn and just get the hell out of this place we are now going to, because it will be the death of our society.
I mean,
imagine,
okay, yeah.
Imagine a girl asking you, "Could you please rape me?" How fucking weird would that be?
But I mean, okay, some people might say like, okay, ooh, I just watch it for the stances. Ooh, sure, it might help, but you're not watching it for that. That's not the reason you're watching it.
It goes way beyond it.
The stances are not even special. I'll say
like
they have like 3 to 4, and that's it.
Yeah, it's most of the time it's missionary doggy, reverse cowboy, and cowgirl. It's just that.
Sometimes they're just laying flat. That's it. That's a rare occasion, but everyone skips that part. So I mean,
yeah. There's this other idea that says it all depends on what you choose to watch, but I don't believe there is the freedom inside this, because porn is just made in this certain way that it forces you to watch everything. Well, go open porn. What will you see? Popular in Belgium. Well, you feel like, oh, other people around me watch it. There's this peer pressure, immense peer pressure coming in. You're probably gonna watch it. Or like free bras and movies, and you're like, that sounds fun.
That's
And
a
you
deal.
watch it like, yeah, you just get caught up in this maze of infinite porn streams. And I believe that in pornography, there's no free will. You are just directed. You're like a twig in a flood. You just go wherever the flood goes.
Is that you're being so greatly manipulated by all the big companies. They're putting so much research into all of this, how to get you to click, yeah. And you think you have the power to not click when they have all the research showing that you will click. And then just like a comparison could be made here with, again, like cigarettes. Like, oh, I can choose how many cigarettes I take. I can take only one a month.
No, you can't.
They're made to be addictive.
That,
You're not
that,
going
that
to
would,
take one.
yeah, that would just be my reply. No, you can't. Prove me you can't. Say that to a chain smoker. I bet you can't smoke one cigarette this entire month. They probably will say too, no, I can't.
And then
It's
there
not
are
because
these,
they're weak.
then there are these people like, oh, but porn isn't addictive like cigarettes.
But and that idea just entirely makes me trip. Like, porn isn't addictive. Well, tell me what makes things addictive. Well, it's quite easily explained. So what makes things addicted is the release of hormones like dopamine, the pleasure hormone. Well, we do everything because of dopamine. It's like basically the red line throughout our entire lives. And like porn plays into this like with great fashion. It's just like, yeah,
Okay, we shouldn't say porn here. Sure, it does as well, but it's mostly the finishing line that does this
yeah,
mostly.
but
And there's literally an evolutionary reason for this. Of course, when you were actually doing it and not watching it, then you have like, when spreading your seed was seriously hard because only if you look at the research, like what was it, only like the 1% of like
yeah, it's
males were
a
able
really
to
slim
reproduce
number.
in the whole
Yeah,
history. I don't know the exact number, you can look it up, but it was very slim. So when you did it, amazing, you did your job of the life, you reproduced.
yeah,
Now you rest, you get tired, you're satisfied, you get all the dopamine rush to make you feel satisfied and feel happy that you did it. So there's an evolutionary reason, and it's a key important in why we're still existing to this day. But you got to keep that,
yeah.
thing to the real thing, not to the fake one. And when
But
you're with your hand, that's
yeah, the thing is also why I said porn releases dopamine is as you get further into addiction, like we see that with alcoholics and people who are abusing drugs and whatnot, we see that their brain releases dopamine way before actually getting the thing that gives them dopamine. They have, if I'm not mistaken, tested this on a monkey. They put him in a chair and they showed him a screen, and every time a square came on, he pulled the lever, and when he pulled the lever, some juice fell on his lip. And as he did it more and more, he began to crave it like most guys do to porn. We can't live without it. And as he began to crave it, once the square appeared on the screen, the dopamine was released into his body way before he actually tasted the juice. So that's just this mindfuck thing that, like, okay, initially it starts with the release gives you dopamine, but eventually, as you use it more, it moves on to the act of knowing you will get to the release will give you dopamine. That's what most guys who are deep into pornography experience. Like, they gain more out of masturbating than out of their orgasm, because after a while, the orgasm starts to feel like, well, it's the end of this fun period.
Well, hell yeah. And then like the most destructive part about it, it takes 18 months to heal the dopamine receptors. So you create that dependency there. So and then 18 months
the
to
T
get
levels
everything
do,
out, that's crazy.
and the T levels also rise. So testosterone goes through the roof. For those who don't know testosterone, go fuck yourself. You should know it. It's the male hormone, and it makes men aggressive and assertive. So for all those faggots out there who are now going to say, "Oh, the porn makes men aggressive," no, it doesn't. Well, it does, but not through testosterone. It makes men aggressive for other reasons, like men are brainwashed into thinking that it's okay to bang a girl. So when your T levels rise, the only thing you can think about is, oh, well, I need that pussy, I will get it right now.
Oh yeah. And then you have those people that say, okay, the actors are judged. It's a not a very healthy workspace. And sure, there's a lot of pressure on them. It's not that healthy. It's very discriminating. It's very harsh, the people who make it, but they're not judged by the public. They're actually literally praised by the public. If you look at the Instagram stories of those actresses, they're reposting posts of people commenting on their Twitter thread that like, oh my god, I would bang you right now on the spot if you would come here. I would do this to you. I would do this and this to you, this and this to you. Okay, sure, it might not be healthy, but okay, fine. That's the only thing that they see from that person. So that's, kind of, acceptable.
Think about people like Lana Rhodes or Angela White. They are just adored by all those incels who are so weak that they just can't get any other girl to love them.
I mean, they're literally in love with them, the pixel version probably, but yeah. And then the men, and then you have the arguments that, okay, but the men then, okay, Johnny Sins, he's a legend. He's the legend.
He's a
There's
legend.
memes about him that he's a legend. He's the GOAT. So just crazy.
And I believe that porn does create incels.
Oh hell yeah, for sure.
It really does, because, well, as you get deeper into porn, you are going to see women as objects for sex, because that's what porn teaches you. Women is to be fucked and to stand in the kitchen, nothing more.
Yep.
And well, that mindset will get you no lady, which will make you involuntarily celibate.
But that's literally the only thing they're saying. They're not getting any woman interaction from anywhere else. That's the only interaction they're getting is from a pixel and a camera. That's all. And they still can't get any, even though they, the longest experience with a girl is, wanking it on the screen. So they're miserable, they're unattractive because they're not working on themselves. And then they get pissed at the woman for rejecting them. For rejecting them and for being the sluts, because only experience he has is watching them getting fucked by someone else, but they still want them. So they're angry at the people they want, and then that's not a good way to get anywhere. So they become, like you say, involuntarily celibate, so involuntarily not getting anything.
They feel like the world is just made against them, and the entire world has this purpose of denying them any form of intimacy, while in reality they are just denying it themselves.
And then they go to platforms like OnlyFans, where they're not selling porn, they're selling intimacy to you. It's not you can watch the most weird stuff for free everywhere else and see people doing the act, but you can't see that on OnlyFans. Usually most content on there is like, oh, tip me this and I will say your name, or I will rate your PP and all that stuff.
It's like intimacy. OnlyFans is basically hire a slut. You just pay for attention. And there's this common misconception that people think that if the fruit were not forbidden, Would anyone care to take it? I'm like, well, let's start by the basics. The fruit is not forbidden anymore. Go out on a school court and you'll probably hear like the majority of the boys talking about porn or sex, because that's what boys do. So it's definitely not forbidden anymore. It's like, it's generalized, but there's still some taboo about talking about it. And it's like, that's weird, but the taboo will disappear at some point in time. And the reason why porn works so fucking good is because, well, as people who have had even with the barest introduction into biology know, we are driven by stimuli. So we see something, for example, the flashing light of a police car in the corner of our eye, and we react to it. Porn does the same thing, like wide hips, hip ratio, full lips, red cheeks. These are all things that show fertility. Full lips and red cheeks because it shows that that the woman is still young, and wide hips because wide hips make childbirth easier. So what does porn? It creates these super stimuli. And what are super stimuli? It's basically you take a normal stimuli, wide hips and normal breasts, and you just blow them up. Like normal C's become double D's, wide hips become gigantic hips, full lips become blown up lips, red cheeks become whatever not. Yeah, that's why porn makes it almost impossible not to be attracted to porn actresses.
Hell yeah. And then, okay, then you have those people that say, well, it makes me feel good, so why shouldn't I do it? That's like the dumbest argument I've heard in my entire life. You can compare it to any substance abuse, any other thing. It makes you feel good. Why shouldn't I do it? Well, there are consequences on it. Instant gratification is shit. Long-term gratification will fix most things that you have. But all of this is instant gratification, and that's bullshit because you'll be miserable.
Yeah. There's one argument, and I really like this argument, but it has some fallacies. The argument goes as follows. A 2008 study by researchers studying hardcore porn's effect on Danish men and women found that respondents construed the viewing of hardcore pornography as beneficial to their sex life, their attitudes towards sex, their perceptions and attitudes towards members of the opposite sex, towards life in general and overall. The one problem I have with this is, well, it's one study, so we can't believe it. If Trump says there's a study that says you should drink bleach to avoid getting COVID, does that mean that you should drink bleach to avoid getting COVID? No, it shouldn't.
Hell yeah,
because
bro.
Trump is just a moron. One study doesn't prove shit. So maybe if the argument was backed by more studies, it sounds reasonable, but there are some hard beliefs like hardcore porn. How could it ever be good to your sex life? Yes, it can spice things up, but at some point your wife will say, no, I don't want it in my ass anymore. Just like every child says to his pastor.
Bro, you did it.
It's basically where you will go. Like hardcore porn, now gone softcore, will not make a girl love you more. Like, if anything, girls will love you more through intimacy and feeling like you care about them and that you are with them in that moment, not that you are just banging her to get your sexual pleasures out.
Hell yeah. And then you have like these two arguments that, okay, first of all, masturbation is healthy, so why shouldn't I do it? It reduces my prostate cancer risk and blah, blah, blah. And it's a safe form of sex, so it's less rape and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I've never denied that.
No, I have used that argument. I have
Yeah.
used that argument against myself
Me too.
so many times. It's like, I shouldn't watch porn, but masturbating is healthy. I should do it. It will help me in life. It's like, no.
Sure it does. So like we said, all the other points that we've covered, you see how unhealthy it is. there are other ways to reduce prostate cancer. This is not the only way. If this was a holy grail for it, sure, F off, I don't care. I'm reducing my prostate cancer because I don't want it. But there are way better ways, like good diet, good fitness, all that will reduce it for sure. And then for the safe sex part, again, sure, you won't get any STDs out of it. Handy. You'll get all of your, urges out. Handy.
Imagine.
But it's like,
Imagine
you get
getting an
it
STD.
from your hand.
Imagine getting an STD from watching porn.
But the thing is, like, it covers it like for 50%. Like it looks like it covered it, but then it didn't after all. 5 minutes later, when you're in your own thoughts, you're left way more emptier than even with like transactional sex with a hooker, for example. Even then, you would feel less empty handing the cash to the person and, like, saying thank you, because it's still a person. You can still talk to that person afterwards. They usually do. And but here you're alone in your bedroom, wherever, staring at the ceiling and regretting it. And what most people do to avoid this, they go straight to YouTube, straight to some distractions, straight to Netflix. That's what I used to do, to not be in that space, because I hated it.
And when you do that, you just get caught into the loop of not doing shit and just going into this miserable loop of procrastination and having no meaning in life. It's just like, it feels like, I know for me, it felt like, okay, school is done, I come home, I masturbate, I watch some Netflix, I look at my schoolwork, I'm like, oh, fuck, I ain't gonna do it anyway. I watch more Netflix, I watch more YouTube, I masturbate again, I go to bed because I couldn't sleep without masturbation.
Oh, hell yeah.
Really that bad. Yeah. And you talked about the thing with a hooker. Like, there is some truth in it, because most people don't know, but pornography comes from the Greek words porno and graphy, which literally means writings by or about prostitutes. And there are some clear correlations to it. Like, there is no intimacy involved. You don't have to have feelings. And it's also just on demand. You are like, I want it now. Okay, you get it now.
You don't even have to work for
whatever
it.
you want. Yeah, and you can do whatever you want. Like, the hooker isn't even able, even if she wanted to say no. Just like porn, you want some weird ass fetish like CNC, you can find it. You just can't find it. That's the trouble with the internet. You can find things like man fucking a dog or some shit, like
a dog, the woman even. That's it.
it's just going way off limits. And the thing with porn is, it's just like with every other addiction. Like, I'll explain it using an analogy with alcoholism. First, you start off with beer, then you go to wine, then you go to wine and maybe a few shots of tequila. 2 months later, you're just drinking straight vodka 7 times a day. You're waking up with a beer. You're going to bed with a beer. Oh, you feel bad. You take a beer because it will help your headache and that shit. But you're going more extreme and extreme. And before you know, your liver is like, no, I can't do it. Fuck you. I'm committing suicide.
And again, with the emptiness, like, imagine you're a king and you can get anything with a snap of a finger, anything like this, and you have it. People will get it for you. Food.
Yeah, you don't want
woman,
it. You don't even want it.
Yeah. Maybe at first excited. Yes, I have this new ability to snap my fingers. Oh, yay. After a while, you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, because you feel like everything is given to you and you don't even have to do shit. It will feel, indeed, it will feel really good for short term, but after that, it will just destroy you from within.
Okay, this next argument makes me laugh. It's honestly, it's quite good. It's quite good. Okay, so this argument goes as follows. Porn can actually help foster emotional and sexual intimacy. Helping couples develop a deeper sexual connection is through erotic images. Erotica, as well as couples' own masturbatory fantasies, hard word, can be used can be useful tools for helping them develop as adults. Imagine developing as adults for watching it.
Yeah.
But again, the intimacy you're watching, I don't know how hard we have to hit on this. It's meta intimacy. It's like,
Yeah, there is no intimacy.
With pixels, there is. You're not
Yeah.
friends with the streamer you watch. They don't know you. You're not friends with them. But you have this meta friendship because you know everything about them, but they don't know everything about you. You're a stalker.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the same thing here.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about you. They don't know you're here. They just get the money from you.
There's this awesome book about escaping the problems caused by porn. It's called The Porn Trap. And at a certain point, I believe it's like the second chapter, like the fourth part or so, it's like around page 45 or something, because I highlighted it. And it is this tale about a man. It's not a tale, it's a story, a confession of a man who tried watching porn with his wife to spice up their sex life. And during and afterwards, they just felt like they were fucking someone else. They were just thinking about someone else. So no, it doesn't create intimacy. It just, if it does anything, it moves you away from your partner. And I know some people will hate for us by saying, will have hate because we say this, but I genuinely believe that it has no benefit whatsoever to your sex life.
Hell yeah.
Nothing.
And then I said the previous argument was funny. This one, I mean, I give props to them. They're really searching for an argument here.
Yeah.
So porn
They're
makes you
going
better
really
at
deep.
porn makes you better at math, guys. If you wanna succeed at your tests, do it. It makes
Watch
you better.
porn.
So
It's why all those it's why all those Asian dudes succeed. They just watch porn all day long. Of course.
Like hentai probably, but okay, fine.
Yeah.
So how did the study go? So the people there were looking at like semi-erotic pictures, and it reduced the men's cortisol, which is like the stress hormone.
Well, it does because when cortisol is lowered, dopamine is heightened.
Hell yeah. And it reduces it by half, so by like a big amount, it's not some like 10%, by half. And then so lower stress equals better concentration and better mental performance in general. This is also true for women. And this is not some random, like, first they, had this lower cortisol and then they concluded it by, deducting reasoning.
No,
they actually made them do the test.
Yeah, but it seems pretty logically, like dopamine lowers cortisol because dopamine gives you pleasure and yada yada. But the thing with dopamine is once it is released, you just can't you can't think about one thing and one thing only. It's like there's this idea of a value hierarchy. So there are things that are important to you. There's food, water, and the moment you become excited, sex goes way up top. You don't care about food. You don't care about water. You don't care about anything else. You're just like, I want to fuck right now. So of course your stress hormone will lower, but it won't offer you a better mental performance because the only thing you can really think about is fucking.
And back in the day when you had that thought, you actually bettered yourself. You directed that energy into something else and made yourself useful so you can do it later. Delayed gratification. Now people are so entitled.
Yeah.
They can get it like that.
Yeah.
Like imagine the trust fund kid. They're not happy. The trust fund kid, everyone knows it. They're born with money. Everything they do, it's always handed to them. They can't find happiness anywhere. Same thing here. You can get it like that. So why could you ever derive happiness from it?
Yeah. And there's this other argument that says porn helps you normalize desires. Porn helps you figure out what turns you on. No, guys, we have already talked about this. It does not tell you what turns you on. It tells you what you should be turned on by. Like there is no, I can't stress this enough. There is no free will in the world of porn.
And then on top of that, even if you're turned on by this, so you only watch that, you don't watch anything else, great, fine. Same thing with any other addiction. You crave for more at some point because you can get it like this. So it's not the same anymore. In the beginning, it was all fun and games, and then after a while, But what if the thing that you can get the thing that you can get instantly becomes more exciting, better. Then it's exciting again. So you go for other styles, other videos, other categories, to put it nicely, and it goes to more extreme until you're at the animal world.
There's a book written about it. I believe it's the changes caused in ethical beliefs by porn, and it goes to talk about how guys who wind up watching hardcore porn once were nice guys who just were romantically into girls and this and that, but porn just destroys everything, man. It just says, okay, you would like to fuck a girl, how about anal? And at first you might be like, no, anal is bad. Like every 8-year-old kid knows like anal is bad, it's way off limit. But like 15-year-olds are watching it. The same 15-year-olds that as 8-year-olds said, I'm not watching anal, never in my life.
And even if you just think about it, like if you want to be productive, if you want to do something, and you have a certain amount of energy every single day, by watching porn and doing it, it takes all of that energy away. It sucks it all in. You're tired, you want to sleep because evolution says you've accomplished your mission. So you can sleep now. No, you don't. You still got a business to work on. You still got projects to work on. You still got school to study for.
You still got those extremely bad feelings, this post-nut shame that you have.
Indeed. And so if you want to start pursuing Ubermensch, and we'll cover the title in the next episode perhaps, you should start by quitting porn. I know it's hard. I know it takes years. Some people can do it like this. Sure, you can't, probably. It'll take years.
And there's this idea that you should stop at once and you should never fail again, but it doesn't work like that. No one ever learned how to run without falling flat on their face. So I'm not saying you should like on purpose get into porn again after having some time away from it. No, you shouldn't. But you shouldn't beat yourself up after you've had some time away from it and you get into it. But just make sure that you don't stay into it.
Hell yeah. It's hard, like any other habit.
And if everyone ever says to you, so maybe porn is good if watched moderately, Felix will say,
you say that to alcoholics? Bro, you can drink one wine every Friday, right? Like, come on, it's not that bad. Take one sip. You don't say that to an alcoholic, bro.
No, you don't. So, guys, we can't stress this enough. You can't run without falling, but don't let people talk you into it. It's the bad that you can do.
Yep. So,
and after all,
So by changing the habit, like all habits, is seriously hard, but you got to start somewhere. So again, you probably follow like hundreds of if not thousands of Instagram accounts. Delete Instagram. That's like the only way to fix it. Like, but I've got friend chat groups where I am.
We
WhatsApp
both did it.
Indeed, WhatsApp exists, Signal exists, Telegram exists. Oh, but I want to watch memes.
No, you don't.
You're wasting.
You're on Instagram to watch porn. That's the only reason you're on Instagram. And there's this other thing, you're on Instagram because you think people care about your life. No, they don't. So if the only thing that's holding you back is like, I have these groups on it and they are so important, tell these fucking people you are going to delete Instagram. Send them your number and say you can contact me here. If they need you, they will contact you. If they don't, they're bad.
Same goes for TikTok, by the way.
Yeah. No. TikTok should just be deleted. No questions asked. Just no questions asked. Everyone.
There are literally these kids that are crying because their big brother or sister realize, mostly not sisters because they're also addicted to it because that's how TikTok works. But usually their big brothers delete it for their younger siblings. For their own good. They start crying. They start being so angry. Like I lost my algorithm. what the algorithm, a super AI, have been working on
Yeah.
for years to make you addicted to it. Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
thing. That's not a bad thing.
So everyone, remember to give the right amount of fucks.
Hell yeah. See you next time.